Buddy, what's good? Long time no see. Welcome to the latest episode of Mystery Unsolved. A bit of a hiatus, not that anyone noticed, not that anyone cared. I apologize for my rugged appearance. I will look fresh as a daisy next week, but in the meantime, we are back right here on Mystery Unsolved, and we will be dealing with a case that is called the Lead Mask Mystery. What is that? I have no unearthly idea, but we're about to find out. Before we get started, I noticed that it suddenly just got a little dark, so there we go. Sorry about that. So, the lead mask mystery. Without further ado, let's start tonight's episode of Mystery Unsolved. The mystery of the lead masks involves a series of events which led to the deaths of two Brazilian electronic technicians, Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel Jose Viana, who had last been seen by their families on August 17, 1966. Their bodies were discovered on August 20th, 1966, and the cause of their deaths has never been determined. So, right out of the gate, three people died, and we apparently don't know how they died, and we won't know how they died. But let's get into the incident here, shall we? On the afternoon of August 20th, 1966, a young boy was flying a kite on the Morro do Venom Hill in Niterói in Rio de Janeiro when he came upon the bodies of two deceased males and reported them to authorities. The Morro do Ventum had difficult terrain, and the police were unable to reach the bodies until the next day. When a small team of police and firefighters arrived, they encountered an odd scene. The bodies rested next to each other, partly covered by grass. Each wore a formal suit, a lead eye mask, and a waterproof coat. There were no signs of major trauma or any evidence of a struggle. Next to the corpses, police found an empty water bottle and a packet containing two wet towels. A small notebook was also identified, on which were written the cryptic instructions: 1630, Estar no local determinado, 1830, Inger Capusulas, Epos Efeto Proteger. Jesus Christ, why can't it be in. Okay, there we go, sorry. It's in English. 1630, be at the specified location. 1830, ingest capsules affected after the affected product. Sorry. Ingest capsules after the effect. Protect metals. Await signal mask. That's weird. Why did they say they don't know how they died? It clearly states that they probably ingested tablets. The two men were identified as Manuel Pinheiro da Cruz and Miguel Jose Viana, two electronic technicians from Capos dos Goyatacazes. These are Spanish names, I swear. A town several kilometers northeast of Rio de Janeiro. Following an investigation, police reconstructed a plausible narrative of the men's last days. On August 17th, Cruz and Viana left Campos dos Goyatacazes with the stated intent that they needed to purchase some materials for work. Because electricians, makes sense. And I lost my. There we go. The two men then boarded a bus to Niterói and arrived at 2:30 p.m. Evidence shows the waterproof coats were purchased at a shop there and one bottle of water from a local bar. Imagine going to a bar to purchase a bottle of water. That bartender must have looked at him so weird. Upon being interviewed, the waitress from the bar described Miguel as very nervous and noticed he had frequently checked his watch. That is the last time they were known to have been seen alive. It is presumed they went directly from the bar to the spot at which they were discovered. No obvious injuries were discovered at the scene, nor later at the autopsy, which took place weeks later. The coroner's office was very busy at the time, and when the autopsy was finally conducted, the internal organs of the two victims were too badly decomposed for reliable testing. Because of this delay, testing for the toxic substances was not conducted. So the bodies were so badly damaged that they just couldn't even bother to look into any possible ideas. And that right there, and we're only 5 minutes in, is the entire case. So there is theories here, obviously. But before we get into the theories, I just want to backtrack a little bit here because we are just going to breeze through this, and I don't want to do that. I want to make good time here. So basically, in a nutshell, they're two electricians, and apparently they have instructions to, let's see, be at the specified location at 16:30, which I assume is military time, and help me out here. 13 is 1, 14 is 2, 15 is 3. So 4:30 would be. So at 4:30, be at the specified location. And then at 6:30, ingest capsules after the effect protect metals await signal mast. There's no comma, so I'm not really sure what it implies. So they went to a bar. The waitress said that one of the guys looked nervous. They got their waterproof coats. So it was implied that they were going to go to work. But then it later states that they went from the bar to where their bodies were discovered. So, and that was like out in the open, like a terrain. So, what were two electricians doing out in the middle of nowhere? It doesn't really make sense. Alright, let's get into the theories, shall we? There are multiple theories that have been proposed to explain this case, ranging from foul play to UFOs. One theory revolves around the testimony of a friend of the two men, who claim that they were members of a group of scientific spiritualists. This theory purports that the men were apparently attempting to contact extraterrestrials or spirits using psychedelic drugs, believing that such an encounter would be accompanied by blinding light. The men cut and wore metal masks to shield their eyes. The two then ultimately died of a simultaneous drug overdose. This account is corroborated by esoteric diary entries found at the scene by mask-making materials and literatures concerning spirits found at the men's homes. And that's the only theory. In this case, is sometimes I just need to look into stuff before I just get right into it. But it's been so long that I was just like, let me just get into this. I think I look awful, by the way. So, yeah. It's just so weird and it's so bizarre. First of all, why was it called the lead mask mystery? Why were they wearing two metal masks? I don't know, it's lead masks. It doesn't make sense. None of this makes any sense. Which should mean it's a good mystery, but I just don't feel like it is. I'm sorry, but I don't. Like, what were they doing out in the middle of nowhere? In a terrain? Why did they have metal masks? Like, I know what I just read, but it's literally about UFOs and spiritualists. I like UFOs just as much as the next person. Don't get me wrong, but UFOs, spiritualists, and psychedelic drugs, they just don't go hand in hand. This is a dud case, and I apologize. So I'm gonna make the most of this and drag this puppy out. All right. Before we get into the theories of how they died, let's build a theory as to why they were there out there to begin with. There were two electricians, but clearly they weren't there to do a job because, again, terrain out in the middle of nowhere, not the case. They were spiritualists. Were they looking for UFOs? Maybe they were looking to experience some type of event, some type of movement, if you will, aside from seeing UFOs. Theory number two, they were there to see some UFOs and extraterrestrials. And that's cool, but there's not a lot to go on. So for them to just throw that out there is like, let me see if there's another article on it. Matching suits, cryptic notes, and handmade lead masks, unpacking one of the strangest unsolved cases of the 20th century. And I can't read it because you have to subscribe. That's lovely. Oh no, I have to download the app. There's no time. Okay, that's a podcast. I want to get one more article in this. I want to make this worth it for you guys. Bodies are found every day under mysterious circumstances. Most of these discoveries are eventually explained away. Their deaths are the result of foul play, suicide, illness, or accident. But some cases are so strange that they defy explanation, even after all the evidence has been collected, such as the story of Brazil's lead mask case. We know their names, we know where they were. The two men were stretched outside by side, dressed in matching suits. While some accounts describe these lead masks as the kind used to protect against radiation, other sources indicate that they were quite different in design. Okay, so I would like a little more detail on the masks. I don't know about you. Protective masks typically cover the whole head, with goggles or enclosed sight slits. These homemade masks were more like lead blindfolds that completely covered the eyes but left the rest of the face exposed. While wearing them, it would have been impossible for the men to see anything. Hence the reason the person said blind, so that they could take the drug as an experience. The pair was identified. We know who they are. Their bodies. Here we go. Sorry, I thought I lost my spot. Their bodies, alongside their bodies, are at least found a water bottle, which he purchased at the bar, two wet towels, and a notebook. The notebook contained lists of parts, and other information related to their occupations as electronic electricians. One page, however, contained cryptic instructions that seemed to relate to the mysterious deaths, which is the thing that I stated in the beginning. There were no signs of trauma, no evidence of a struggle, and no obvious cause of death for either of the men. In spite of the references to ingesting capsules, toxicology reports were not run on the bodies. The reason? According to reports, the coroner was simply overwhelmed with the work at the time. Police, who had no particular reason to subject foul play, did not push matters. Oh. So, here's a theory. We're going to blame it on a lazy coroner and stupid police. Remember I said it's not really a mystery as to how they died, considering it's told them to ingest two capsules. There's no foul play. They're out in the middle of nowhere. They weren't shot. They weren't stabbed. There's clear instructions that tell them to take two tablets. And yet, when police get there, they're like, yeah, we can't look into the bodies to decompose. The coroner's too lazy to run a toxicology report. I'm going to solve this case right now. Guess what happened to them? They took the 2 tablets, poison tablets, capsules, and they died. They were taking some weird ass experiment. Maybe it was LSD, maybe it was something experimental, so that they could try to see aliens or see something, experience something. That's my only theory, because why not? Investigators performed by journalists, both professional and amateur, revealed that the men might have been members of a scientific spiritualist collective. The paranormal group was apparently popular among local electronic technicians. One account suggested that another technician had died some 4 years earlier atop of a different hill under similar circumstances. He too was found wearing a red mask. Okay, but still, he probably died the same way. He offended the 2 men that claimed that scientific spiritualists were investigating and trying to contact extraterrestrials or spirits, and that they had even constructed a contraption in one member's backyard to facilitate contact. When police searched the homes of the men from the Vietnam Hill, they found the tools necessary to make their homemade lead masks, and a book that contained highlighted passages about the intense luminosity of the entities they hoped to reach. Such expectations of bright light might explain the need for their coverings. I believe that. That makes sense. Other sources say that the spiritualist community would ingest psychedelic drugs to aid their communication attempts. This has led many to conclude that the 2 men who died on Vietnam Hill perished from accidental drug overdoses, adding fuel to the fire of speculation. Local newspapers ran stories a few days later after the bodies were found, in which a resident claimed to see a non-orange UFO hovering over the hill on the same night that the man had been there. Okay. What the 2 men hoped to accomplish that night on Vietnam Hill would likely never be known. Whether their deaths were the result of drug overdoses or contact with the otherworldly, they left behind a mystery as strange as any you'll likely find, and one that baffles skeptics and believers alike to this day. Does it sound like a mystery? Yeah, it's a mystery. But does it also not sound like a mystery? Yeah. They were spiritualists. They were into weird shit. They wanted to see something, they wanted to experience something, and they wanted to see UFOs. They constructed the masks because of the light that would make them blind. They took the drugs. I wouldn't say they even necessarily overdosed. Maybe they'd never taken drugs before and they just popped one in, however many they popped in, and boom. That's clearly how they died, taking the drugs, because there's nothing to suggest foul play, and like we said, lazy coroner, stupid police, which is just becoming an all too insane pattern lately with these cases. So yeah, short case tonight in my first night back. I wish I had something a little better for you, but that's what we were given. The lead masks case. Did I just solve it? I'd like to think so. Do stay tuned for next week's episode, which will hopefully be better than this one. And yeah, thank you for watching Mystery Unsolved. Until next time.